After spending much of this day on Capitol Hill answering questions about the new Afghanistan strategy, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has graciously agreed to answer some questions for us tonight. Madam Secretary, nice to see you.
Oh, it's great to talk with you, Katie.
Now, the president said that this surge is in our, quote, vital national interests. If the mission is that important to America's national interests, why start withdrawing troops after only 18 months?
Well, I think there's been considerable misunderstanding about what the president said and what he meant. He said last night that our goal is to begin transferring responsibility for security and hopefully being able to bring some of our troops home starting in July 2011. But this is going to be done in a responsible way and based on the conditions as they are assessed. It's not getting to a cliff and jumping off. It's a gradual, responsible assessment. But the reason for this is to show two things simultaneously, because we have many different audiences that were paying attention to the president's speech. We want to demonstrate the resolve that we feel. We may have inherited this war. We wish that it had been resolved before, but the president has stepped up and taken responsibility, and we're going to do all that we can to bring it to a successful conclusion. And that resolve is important to send a message to everyone that the United States is committed. We understand this affects our vital national interest. At the same time, there is a sense of urgency. We've been at war in Afghanistan for 8 years. I think the American people have a right to say, well, why are we still there? Well, we're there because we haven't finished the job. It's unfinished business. And we want to send a message of urgency to the people and government of Afghanistan and others that they have to be part of making sure that we go after al-Qaeda and their allies, which include a lot of the Afghanistan Taliban.
So is this a not-so-subtle message to Hamid Karzai that he better step up to the plate because the U.S. will not be there forever?
Well, I think that this is a very clear message to President Karzai and to the rest of the Afghan leadership. It's a message that he and I discussed together when I was there for his inaugural. And it's a message that we think is important to convey because it fits very well with what President Karzai said in his inauguration, where he wants to see the Afghan security forces begin to take responsibility for Afghanistan and to be completely responsible within 5 years. Well, we want to begin that process. We obviously think that what has gone before hasn't been as effective as it needed to be. And we want to have the Afghan attention focused in a way that will produce results.
Former National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski said the lack of a strong multinational commitment could even feed the insurgency. How concerned are you, Madam Secretary, that NATO and other international allies won't pony up additional troops?
Katie, I'm actually very encouraged. I've spoken to probably 20 foreign ministers in the last 5 days. The president has spoken to a lot of presidents and prime ministers. We've had our Defense Secretary Bob Gates, our National Security Advisor Jim Jones. We've been canvassing the world, and we feel quite encouraged at the kind of response that we're getting. We already have 43 nations that are contributing troops. When the president said that we were going to put in an additional 30,000, we have expected and we have reason to believe we will get significant numbers, more than 5,000, probably closer, we hope, to 7,000 of new troop commitments from NATO ISAF allies. We know that the Afghans are going to step up because we are better partnering with them in a way that I think has built their confidence. I will be going to Brussels tomorrow. I'll be meeting with our NATO allies on Friday. And over the next days and weeks, I think you'll hear a steady stream of commitments to troop levels that will demonstrate there is a multinational resolve standing with us.
How does the president's new plan, in your view, make America safer?
Well, Katie, I come to this with a unique experience in the cabinet in that I was a senator from New York on 9/11. I know where that attack originated. I know that the people who masterminded it are still at large. I know that al-Qaeda heads what is essentially a syndicate of terror that includes the Taliban and other terrorist extremist groups around the world. And I know that if Afghanistan is not stable and secure and able to defend itself, it will become a failed state and will once again be a safe haven for al-Qaeda and its allies. So I have a very strong personal commitment to doing everything I believe is necessary to protect and defend our country.
But al-Qaeda is in more than 20 countries with cells everywhere. Focusing on Afghanistan, even adding Pakistan to the equation, won't stop terrorism, will it?
I think three things would be very helpful. Number one, capturing and killing the leadership of al-Qaeda is something that I still believe is in our vital national security interests. The border area between Afghanistan and Pakistan is the epicenter of international terrorism, and it is from there that a lot of the training, equipping, financing, and planning for terrorist attacks around the world still emanates from. We've recently seen arrests in our own country of people who were trained by al-Qaeda. They attended training camps in Pakistan. There is a very close connection between Afghanistan and Pakistan because of the porous border. And we have to be working on both sides of that border. So it's not only that we are adding troops and a civilian surge as well, which is critically important to go hand in hand with our military efforts, but we're also working with the Pakistani leadership because they're now taking the fight to the Taliban who threatened them, who are part of this syndicate of terror.
So you're saying a civilian surge will bolster both the governments of Pakistan and Afghanistan by helping them prop up their government and creating more competent and effective institutions?
Absolutely. In fact, our integrated civilian military strategy inside Afghanistan is bearing fruit. We are working to enhance agriculture, which is the way that most people in Afghanistan make their living, to move people from poppies to pomegranates, one of the great exports from Afghanistan. We've worked to help the education system. When President Karzai took office, there were about 1 million students in school, nearly all of them boys. Now there are 7 million, and about 40% are girls. There are some good developments that rarely get much attention coming out of Afghanistan, but which demonstrate that a sustained, patient effort can produce results. We are going after corruption. We've made it clear to the government of Afghanistan that we're not going to be sending any aid to any agency that we don't certify as accountable and transparent. There's just a lot that we're doing, and it's in conjunction with our military efforts. When I was there about 2 weeks ago, I had a really exciting meeting with the young men and women of both the military and civilian agencies of our government, and they were reporting to me about, what they're doing together. And it's that kind of concerted effort, not only with Americans, but internationally, that we think is going to give Afghanistan the best shot at stability and security and a better future.
You made news recently when you called out the Pakistani government for not being more aggressive against al-Qaeda in that country. How can the U.S. put pressure on the Pakistani government to go after senior leaders of al-Qaeda who have reportedly found refuge there?
Well, we have seen some progress. The Pakistani government has taken some important steps over the course of this past year that they were not taking before this administration came to office, and before I and others began urging them to do so. They've gone after the Pakistani extremists who've attacked them, attacked their military headquarters, their intelligence headquarters, indiscriminately killed and maimed so many innocent people, first in Swat, then in South Waziristan. But the case we've been making to both the civilian and the military leadership of Pakistan is a simple one. There is no good terrorist. There is no terrorist that you can count on not to turn against you. And this syndicate of terror, of which al-Qaeda plays a major role, is helping with the attacks against the Pakistani government and the Pakistani people. And we're going to continue to work with our counterparts in Pakistan and continue to urge them to take even more steps that will not only protect them and protect the people and government of Afghanistan, but the United States and others as well.
When it comes to Pakistan, some suspect that Prime Minister Zardari doesn't have the clout to get the military to act, and a Gallup poll found that 59% of Pakistanis consider the U.S. the greatest threat to their country. That doesn't sound necessarily like good building blocks for forging a strong relationship.
Well, as I said when I was there, there's been an accumulation of mistrust on both sides. It's a two-way street, which I pointed out to the Pakistani media. There's a lot of work that has to be done, but unfortunately, we have a history of walking away from Pakistan, which I don't think was a long-term smart move to make. So we want to demonstrate to the people and government of Pakistan that we are committed for a long-term relationship. We want to help improve the lives of the Pakistani people. We want to see changes in their government, and of course we want to see greater security. I don't think we get that by just pointing fingers or giving out lectures. I think we get that by building trust and by building a relationship, and that's what we're trying to do.
Senator McCain told me last night that if U.S. troops leave Afghanistan, President Karzai will be leaving shortly thereafter or find himself probably assassinated. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's a tough neighborhood they live in, and the people of Afghanistan have basically had war thrust upon them for more than 3 decades. You know, Afghanistan 40, 50 years ago was considered the fruit basket of Central Asia. It was a country of irrigated gardens and large agricultural production. And, you know, given the Soviet Union invasion, the Mujahideen war to oust the Soviets, then the warlords and the Taliban, I mean, it's been a tough 3 decades. And I think that President Karzai, who was one of the real stalwart heroes of the struggle against the Soviet Union and against the Taliban, knows very well that he faces a lot of threats, but he's persevered, and I think this is a new window of opportunity that he's ready to open in order to demonstrate leadership and commitment in a way that we've been waiting for. So yes, I mean, we know that the United States and our other 42 troop contributing countries make a critical difference in the security of Afghanistan, but we think we can help them to build up a security force that will defend not only the country, but the president and the leadership as well.
And finally, Madam Secretary, Congressman David Obey, a Democrat, released a statement saying this could, quote, devour our ability to pay for the actions necessary to rebuild our own economy. Columnist Tom Friedman basically said he's ready to live with a little less than perfect Afghanistan because of the need for nation building here at home. The price tag for sending these additional troops, $30 billion for the first year. How will you pay for it?
Well, first, I couldn't agree more with what the president said when he said the only nation he's interested in building is our nation. And, you know, we inherited a pretty bad hand, Katie. We inherited 2 wars, neither of which had been paid for. We inherited an exploding deficit, a global recession. You know, it's been a tough year, but I give President Obama, you know, high marks for, you know, not shirking from his responsibility. He takes on each of these very tough issues and, you know, methodically, deliberatively goes through until he's comfortable with the decisions that have to be made. We're going to have to start dealing with our deficit because it saps our fiscal sovereignty. It undermines the leverage we have around the world, but we also have to protect our security. So I am very sympathetic with everyone who is saying, look, how are we going to pay for this? And I think that you'll see that the president wants to make sure that all of the costs of this new commitment in Afghanistan will be accounted for in the budget. But we've got some tough decisions ahead, and we have to step up and do it. You know, it breaks my heart. I know that when my husband left office, we had a balanced budget and a surplus. And now to look where we are, given everything that we've had to deal with, you know, it's not an easy position to be in. But I have a lot of confidence that we are taking on these problems. We're not hiding from them, and we're going to handle them. We're Americans. We're going to step up. We're going to deal with them, and you know, we have to deal with both our economic security challenges and our national security challenges.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, thank you so much.
Great to talk to you, Katie. Thank you.